Pakistan, the land of the pure. Home to the earliest human civilizations. A vast land diverse in terrain and culture. It was colonized by the British in the 1800s as part of their larger British Indian Empire, the fall of which led to the birth of two separate nations, India and Pakistan. Ever since, Pakistan has been on a path of progress, while also experiencing periods of political instability and military dictatorships. Yet, through it all, there have been powerful movements for equity and democracy, with poetry and music playing an integral role in unifying the masses. And one band whose music has been closely linked with the movements is Laal. This is Awaaz Pakistan.
Hi, my name is Taimur Rahman. I teach political science at the Lahore University of Management Sciences, and I'm also a political activist with the Workers' and Peasants' Party of Pakistan. I started up a band about 10 years ago called Laal, which means red, and so we did lots of songs in favor of democracy and against military dictatorship. Pakistan, I think maybe your Indian audiences will be surprised to discover, has had many massive, vibrant movements against dictatorship, which are democratic, secular kind of movements. One of the biggest movements in the country was called the M.A.P, which was the Movement for the Restoration of Democracy. And that was against the dictatorship of Zia-ul-Haq. It was huge, it was massive.
Zia-ul-Haq is one in a series of military dictators that have ruled over Pakistan since independence. His ultra-conservative policies and harsh measures against opposition eventually led to a nationwide protest known as the Movement for Restoration of Democracy. Though considered a failure at the time, the MRD firmly laid the foundations for a pro-democratic sentiment amongst the masses, which emerged in full force during the reign of General Pervez Musharraf.
Then a massive movement erupted in Pakistan, which is just referred to as the lawyers' movement. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was dismissed by the then military dictator, General Pervez Musharraf. And it was initiated and started by the lawyers, but then of course it basically encompassed the political parties and civil society and pretty much everybody as a whole. The leader of the lawyers' movement at that time was Awaaz Pakistan. And he read out a poem when he was under house arrest called Kal, Aaj aur Kal, yesterday, today and tomorrow. So I put that to music, and that became emblematic of that particular movement. It led to the overthrow of General Musharraf. He had to resign, and then of course you had the restoration of democracy.
सबको अच्छी जब सरहद के पास रहेगी जाओ जाओ सबसे कह दो कदम हमारे रुक नहीं सकते जाओ जाओ सबसे कह दो अपने सर अब झुक नहीं सकते रास्ता थोड़ा ही बाकी है देखो देखो वो मंजिल है जालिम डर के भाग रहा है जीत हमारा मुस्तकबिल है जीत हमारा मुस्तकबिल है.
Poetry has long been used as a tool for social change in Pakistani society, tracing back to the Sufi poets. The Sufis would travel through villages, singing songs about the common man and challenging dogmas, making it an art form that resonated with all sections of society. Taimur's work reimagines this old tradition, also drawing heavy influence from progressive poetry written during the anti-British independence movement.
I think music captures people in a way that perhaps political speeches don't. And poetry captures people's imagination in a way that perhaps prose doesn't. In the 1930s, another movement emerged of poets, and they formed an association called the Progressive Writers Association. And the idea behind that movement was that the poetry would be used to really rouse the masses for political action and for independence. So that generated, some incredible poetry in the context of Pakistan as well. So you have people like Ahmed Faraz, you have people like Ahmed Nadeem Qasmi, you have people like Habib Jalib, and you have people like Faiz Ahmed Faiz, and many, many others. What I wanted to do was to take that progressive poetry and to set it to contemporary music. My basis of liking a piece of poetry is whether it appeals to my heart, or to my sensibility, but also to questioning the kind of society we live in today and talking about the kind of society that we would like to live in tomorrow.
Through his work, Taimur amplifies the voice of the people and ideas of envisioning a more progressive Pakistan, something that he believes is essential for safeguarding a democracy.
Protest art and culture in general will continue to play a very important role if this wave of authoritarianism is to be reversed, which we see across the globe, in fact. And it will be reversed. I have absolute faith that this is very temporary. तुम ये कहते हो वो जंग हो भी चुकी जिसमें रखा नहीं है किसी ने कदम. So with any form of resistance, there's always a risk. There isn't just one kind of resistance, and there isn't one level of resistance. You don't have to be Superman. You don't have to fight the whole system all on your own. You just have to do your part, just that little bit. So you are contributing a small drop in a river of resistance. When millions of people put in their share, it becomes an unstoppable torrent. जिसमें